Hey, welcome in. All right, it's good to be here with you this time on a Saturday morning, which is not too typical for us, but it is a time I thought, I haven't done a video in a couple weeks, did the NAMM thing, kind of cleaning out my inbox and getting caught up around the house, and I've been planning on doing this special video for a few weeks. It took me a while to collect all of these different versions I have of the Nobels ODR-1 style circuit. So if you're just joining us, thank you so much for being here. We actually have a lot of folks jumping into the chat already. I can see that the actual Nobels company is here. I have good things to report to you guys. It's going to be fun. So a little background. If you saw the thumbnail, we're basically saying, is the Nobels ODR-1 from the early 90s taking on the mythical Klon type status? And it's getting there because these versions are out there for between $1,500 and $2,000. And there's a lot of companies making their own nod to this really, really influential pedal, including the Nobels company themselves, as well as Wampler and Robert Keeley, Karma, Vemuram. We're going to take a look at the Nordland pedal. We're going to take a look at the Buckartie Boo from Apollo Approved. We have a whole bunch. I'm sure there's more that I could have gotten, but how long do we want to make this thing, right? So we're going to do a couple special things here today. We're going to talk live, but I have some pre-recorded video of all 7 of these pedals because for whatever reason, I'll have to talk to the pedal show guys. They would know. During a stream, the guitar audio isn't as true as I wish it was. It sounds fantastic here and in my monitors, but it just doesn't come across that way in the live stream. So what I did was I made 7 small videos that we're going to watch live together, doing a great, sort of taste test. In the 80s, I think they called it the Pepsi Challenge, if you remember that, if you're old enough. So we're going to do that with every one of these, and then we'll talk about them feature set 2, and we'll take your questions as well. But we're going to try to do this, for about the next 20, 30 minutes or so without too much interruption. But I want you to stay active in the chat because it's always fun to talk to folks. And if the Nobels people or Keeley shows up, they always answer fun questions for us too. And it's certainly appreciated. I want to say a couple of things real quickly. The rig I'm playing, I'll talk about it again in a video. I'm using a PRS NF53. This is the closest thing to a telly I have right now. I don't really have a traditional telly, but this one really sounds good, and I'll explain why in the first video you watch. That's going to go into my 65 Fender Bassman, which you can't see. It's kind of a classic combination here in Nashville. And then the pedals will always use the original one from the 90s as sort of the constant, the control, is that what they call it? And then we're using the JHS switchback, so when I go back and forth between any one of these pedals, it's going to be seamless. I won't have to turn one off and turn one on, and they are not going into each other. They both feed into the switchback, and the guitar signal is distributed accordingly. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is this wonderful sound of the original ODR-1 from the 90s. You'll see here on the switchback, red is the original, green will be the clone. I'll just do a couple things real quick, just play a couple chords, and then you're going to watch a video of me, and then we'll put this thing through the paces because the video really explains a lot of things too. But here's that crazy pedal from the 90s that I think, was like $69 back then. Yeah, sounds really good. How about its counterpart? I have a mic mute on here too, so you don't hear my strings. Already pretty great. Let's watch the video so that we can get a deeper sort of dive into these 2 pedals because I'm way more eloquent pre-recorded than I am live. Okay, so here's the one I made for the 30th anniversary gold Nobels pedal and how I'm comparing it to the original. Let's watch it. So we're going to start with the 30th anniversary Gold Nobles here and pair that against its original donor, if you will, the cousin, the relative, the early one from the 90s. We're running it through the JHS switchback, which I'll talk about in the live stream here. That just gives me seamless transition between each pedal. And I wanted to set up sort of a baseline tone of what you might see in a session. Nashville's gotten, so diverse, but definitely more rock sounds over the past 20 years have taken over, and the Nobles has really helped that. So we take a Tele-style guitar, like this PRS NF53, and I'm going to run it into a 1965 Fender Bassman. Bassman amps are incredibly popular in the studio. They break up really well, they take pedals well, and you just see them on so many sessions. And we're going to hit you with a clean-ish sound first. This pedal's off, but we're in the original setting, and you might hear something like this. Now, when the player wants a little more oomph or a little kick in the butt, but still wants it to sound country rockish, this pedal does a lot of things, but it does that really well. So just hear what it adds if I play a similar idea. And those open chords is really where the pedal loves to sit, especially for a player's session on the first and second pass of rhythm guitars. They might be playing a guitar like this. It sounds a little too bitey. For the rhythm part, they kick this on. Now it's big, it's girthy, it fills up space in the mix, and if the engineer wants to take a little low end out, they sure can later on. And I have the 30th anniversary dialed up, so let's hear that. Very, very close. The thing I notice immediately is that the new one is quieter. These old pedals were relatively cheap, and made inexpensive, and the components can be pretty suspect, and like I've said in other videos, they don't all sound the same. This is a good sounding one, but when I click over, I definitely hear it making noise, where the Klon, or the new 30th anniversary, is a lot quieter. Now, these ODR-1 circuits are known for having a robust low end because of the spectrum control that they have. It brings up the lows and the highs as you turn it up. It's not just a treble control or a bass control or a mid control. So that's a different component. One of the things I love about the new pedal is that it has this bass cut knob. And if we take this bass cut knob and we turn it up about halfway, it's going to be really nice. That's the original. So now that woofy low end is gone. Now some people like the charm of that in the original, so we can kind of find a happy medium maybe. There's more definition and clarity with the 30th anniversary because of that knob. I particularly really like that. It adds a little more bite, cuts through the mix a little bit, and of course I can go all the way back to... It's really, really close, and I think what's nice is this newer version, it sounds tweaked. It sounds a little bit more hi-fi, kind of like the other ones we're going to hear as well. But that's generally how a player might use this pedal. Already, I can tell this is a great, great version. Obviously, they wrote the book, but there's going to be a lot others we hear. So that's the 30th anniversary. Let's talk a little bit live about it, but I wanted to make this recording of these pedals for you so you get a much better mix and a better sounding experience over the internet. Yeah, so hopefully that video explained a lot more than I would do here, rambling, and I thought let's make a concise one that sounds really good. And I have it set up similarly here as well, kind of low gain. What a lot of players would do, like I kind of mentioned in that video, was just start with maybe, like if we go to the original here, we'll turn it off. Again, just that cleanish sound. That's actually pushing the amplifier. But in the dawn of the, modern country era, you're playing maybe a telly like this and you want it to kind of get beefy. That's what the ODR-1 does so well. So many guitar players on sessions will just play that type of sound as their first pass. It takes up a lot of space in the mix and it sounds big. They might play, maybe the song's in D. They got a cool rhythm part. They want to do something like this. And that really, aside from getting an amplifier to do that, when the player has just one sound and a handful of pedals that take on an amp-like sound, man, they're able to kind of build onto that. And I use these pedals for session work and add other things to the chain or before or after, because it really sounds good. It's a great place to start. However, if we go over to the Klon, which it's not a clone, sorry, but that's just what we're using as our general term. I really am liking the bass control rolled out here. We can do a little more focused shot here for you guys. Can you hear how it gets cloudy in the low end? That bass control, or the cut frequency, really helps to define it a little bit more, which is very, very useful. However, some people still just love the DNA of the original. So this pedal really, I think, lives in that lower gain world for what we hear a lot on records here. But if we were to take the gain control and kind of go a little crazy with it, let's see here. Make sure I have the drive here. Just because they're visually matched doesn't mean they'll match sonically. Here's the original. Yeah, see what I mean? I have to get a little bit more here. Let's try it. In headphones, I actually kind of like the sound of the Gold 30th anniversary, because I'm hearing all those low notes more refined, and that's a super important thing. So we're going to move kind of quickly because we have all these videos pre-recorded of these other pedals. And what we're going to do is move on to the next one, and then we'll cover questions later in a little bit, because I want to make sure folks that are watching this after the live stream, don't have to sit through questions that maybe don't pertain to them. That's part of the live stream experience, but I thought let's try to condense it here in the early part. So we agree this sounds really good. The video was revealing for sure. It has been crazy hearing all of these pedals. My head is like, I can't hear another Nobels. I'm sorry, guys. I need an ear break. I've been doing it for 3 days, testing all these pedals, and it's maybe I am clouded because of that, but I'm having a good time. So we're going to talk next about a really interesting pedal here from this guy who makes them in, they're called Nordland. And this is, I believe his name is Kai Takabani. Let's take a look here. Here he is. Kai Takabana. And he is the gentleman who basically helped to design this circuit in the early 90s. And he has since gone on to create his own brand of pedal called the Nordland. This is the ODR-CC Plus Compact. And it's a great little pedal. We got a video on it. Some of the things I want to mention about it is that it does have a bass control. It has a mid-range. I would put it there. Maybe that'll work. Bass control, mid-range. It's not as good as I thought. Sorry, guys. Bass control, mid-range, drive level, the spectrum control. And then he has this ODC control, which I found really you only notice with higher gain settings. There is a different level of compression feel as you turn the knob. I felt like all the way down or counterclockwise seemed to be the best. So let's hear this against the original, which, you know, by all accounts is his design. So it's his design in a modern version against that. Oh, good. Nobles is chiming in here as well. We will add their comment there. So the Nobles folks are here. Please ask them questions if you'd like. That's very kind of them to do. I wanted to make sure they got their spotlight. I know I did my Nobles Screamer video and I said, don't buy this pedal, but it was a warning not to spend a bunch of money on an old pedal. There's several other we're talking about, including the one that they made. All right, so let's watch the Nordland video. I'm gonna throw this in the signal chain. Hopefully I have enough time to do that. If not, you gotta watch me plug some things up. Here we go. Okay, let's listen to the Nordland ODR-CC Plus Compact Overdrive. I like this pedal a lot because the functions I want in tone shaping are right there. And you'll notice that I had to dial them in a pretty interesting way to get it to sound like my original Nobles from the early 90s. So again, same baseline tone. I haven't changed anything on the amp. Here is the original Nobles again for reference. Here's the Nordland. Back. Now, you can hear there's that woofy bass, and I had to turn the bass up all the way on this to make it sound more like the original, and the thing that a lot of players want to do with this pedal is dial that low end out. So I turned it up all the way to match, but as we dial it back, we'll get less bass, obviously. More defined like the 30th anniversary model we did. I like that. I also like that there's a mid control here now too. You see I have it turned down some because I wanted it to sound like the original. When you turn that spectrum control up on the early one, or the original one, the bass in the middle come up. There's a little bit of a scoop there. So I scooped it some to get it to match, but maybe I want to crank it up a little bit to have it poke more in the mid-range. Now hear how different it'll be. That's your original redefined version. I like that. I like that I have the control over that mid-range there. Gets really barky. Whoa, I didn't expect that. Don't tap your foot, Corey. It shakes the camera. Yeah, and as you boost those mid frequencies, it's going to push gain in the amp a little bit differently too. So I like that he has these functions on here. They're really handy. Pedal sounds good. I don't notice a lot of difference in this ODC control, overdrive decompress. When you turn it up, it'll probably squeeze a little more, but you really notice that kind of stuff when you crank the gain on pedals, which we're not doing yet. We'll do that more in the live demo. But yeah, sounds really, really good. I had to tweak it a lot to get it to sound like that, but then taking those tweaks away made it sound perhaps even more usable. So there you go. That's the Nordland ODR-CC Plus Compact Overdrive. Yeah, there you have it. The Nordland, great sounding pedal. This pedal, I want to talk about availability and price. You have to order that directly from their website as far as I know. I don't know if he has dealers. He might. I haven't researched that much. The price, it's 209 euros, and I believe that's somewhere around 225 US. By the way, the 30th anniversary gold model here from Nobles, if we decide to, let's see if I can do this. Here we go. On Sweetwater, it is 169 bucks, and it is in stock. It took me a while to get mine. I think I have like number 4,000 of 5,000. And speaking of that, everything you see here today was either purchased or borrowed. There are no loaners. I'm not getting paid to do this. I just wanted to create what I thought would be a fun live stream and fun video. The Nordland and the Apollo Approved we're going to check out is from my friend and yours, Jeff Mackerlane, and then the Wampler Belle was borrowed from a friend as well. The Shanks, the Karma, the Noble Screamer, the other stuff is all mine, and I either had been gifted or purchased it at some point. So, all right, here we go. Nordland. The thing that's cool about it, it's got those extra functions, and you saw in the video that I had to crank the bass to get it to match closer to the original donor pedal. Yeah, so there's always minute differences in pot values and that sort of thing in these types of pedals. So I might be here or there with the gain or the volume at any one particular point, but that's very, very convincing. I like the small footprint. I like that it's not a super mini pedal. You can't probably do top mount jacks on a pedal that small. I guess maybe you could, but you're going to hear me saying that a lot. Top mount jacks. Love it on the Nobles, love it on some of the other ones, not so much on the pedals that don't have it, but they do have the AC power on the top. Another thing a lot of these pedals like is higher voltage. Generally, these pedals can go from 9 to 18 volts, but make sure you consult your manual before you do that and the warranty as well. You don't want to go, destroying your pedal. But generally, when you have that higher voltage, the headroom feels better on the pedal. It doesn't kind of compress as much. I had the mini ODR-1. I gave it away to somebody because I already had the other stuff. And that sounded fantastic at 18 volts. So that was a really nice option. We don't have that here today. But again, the Nordland, the mid control, really nice feature. So if you want a little bit more bark and bite out of your ODR-1 sound, that's not a bad option. One last thing that I want to talk about with the low end control on these pedals is, yes, I'm living on the bridge pickup here because I'm getting that rock sound, but what can be tricky about the original circuit, if we go back to the original, it might sound good up here on a neck pickup, but once I start to get down in these lower strings, the clarity of those single notes, it sounds pretty good, but I like it maybe a little bit more refined. So if I go to the Klon, let's dial the bass back. Take it even more. So you can hear there's more of a refinement available to you on these types of pedals. So they all sort of do the same thing, so I'm not going to go through each step. I'm just going to kind of show you, hey, this one has some options you might like. Check that one out. Or you might like this one. Like for me, when I pulled this one out of the box, I was like, ooh, this feels heavier and more substantial. It felt nice to grab a Nobels pedal like this one and not have the knobs get all wonky like the old days. I'm saying this all in praise, Nobles. Seriously, this is good stuff. It feels like a nice, well-made pedal. They all do, but I was surprised because, the history of them is not the case. But that's the Nordland ODR-CC Plus Compact. I thought it sounded really, really good. So let's talk about the next one, which I believe is the Wampler Belle. I'm trying to go in sort of like availability and price range and go towards that sort of thing. And Nobles is in the chat, don't forget, talking about or answering your questions. So it's so great to have them here, unprovoked. I did not tell them. They just saw a post, apparently. I did post about it earlier in the week. But a lot of questions about different iterations of Nobles reissues, and they're doing a good job of getting to you guys. So how about that? A couple quick announcements before we move on. There is a coupon for my major pentatonic unlocked course. You use our major pentatonic a lot when we're playing country songs. that kind of stuff will live in a major pentatonic scale. A lot of us are minor players first and have trouble wrapping our brain around the major stuff. That course is on sale. There's 100 coupons special for this live stream, so take advantage of that. Don't forget all the links that we're posting. Well, most of them, if they're Sweetwater links, they're affiliate links. So if you bought a Wampler Belle or a Nobels today with that link, I appreciate it because we get a tiny, tiny commission that helps the channel out and helps us get more gear. Speaking of gear, again, all this is borrowed, loaned, or purchased by me. There were no freebies and there's no paid advertisement here. So the Wampler Belle, the smallest of the pedals, Brian did a fantastic job squeezing all that stuff into one of these. I think this pedal sounds great. I'm going to tell you before we roll the video. And if you're a small pedal person, this one sounds good. We'll talk about the features that are a little bit different as well. So let me plug this up and let's roll the video. Here's the Wampler Belle. Next up in the hot seat is the Wampler Belle, and I had never played this pedal before. I borrowed it from a friend, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and I think you'll see why. Let's hear the original ODR-1 and the Belle. Almost identical feel. Really, I couldn't do it with my eyes closed. Very, very close. But you'll see what I had to do in this pedal was they actually offered a bass control as well. Their color is like the spectrum control. Then they have gain and level, and then there's a clipping switch on the side, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the live stream. But I had to turn the bass all the way up to match the woofy natural low end that comes from the original. So here's the Belle. Really, really close. What I find with all these pedals, even though they have all the same characteristics, the newer clones are more refined around the edges. You know, it just feels like a slightly more hi-fi version of the original. So if I pull that bass control back, again, you'll hear some serious differences. That low end really clouds the issue, probably pushes the amp in a different way, but you can hear there's a much different vibe when I turn that bass control down. But with the bass control up, that's still the original. Let's go to the clone. You hear when I bring it back in, it starts to have more of that Nobels thing, but it sounds really good with the bass rolled out too. The volume changes too because those frequencies aren't being pushed to the forefront as much. When I bring the bass back in, very, very close. I could go for days just trying to get it exact, but for me, it definitely, you know, wets that whistle of wanting the ODR-1 sound. And it's a nice pedal in a small compact form. But we'll talk about the other functions in the live stream too. All right, so there's the Wampler Belle. I don't know about you guys, but it's fun to have this technology actually work. I mean, it is a absolute mess here in front of me, but I'm using the Stream Deck and I have videos loaded to that, and I just hit the button and flows up into the screen, and I'm having a blast with it. And I think it's a unique way to do these live streams, a little bit of pre-recorded, a little bit of live. So I hope you guys like it. Let's talk about the Wampler Belle, some cool functions, and this is where we start to get into, you know, between this one and the Nordland, and then we'll talk about it with the Keeley as well, the Buckartie Boo also, taking that design into a new place. I do appreciate that companies, if they are gonna make their own spin on something, do that. And like I said, the Nobels one has the bass cut, the Nordland has the bass, the mid, the ODC function. The Wampler Belle is no different. It has its gain, its level, I believe they call it color. Yep, color and bass. So color is like the spectrum control. and then we have the bass control. And of course, you see here it's all the way turned up to kind of match what I had previously with the original. And just like that, within 2 seconds, I got them much closer to where they were. I tested everything first, but sometimes knobs get moved. But yeah, the Wampler Belle sounds really nice. Now again, if I pull this bass control back, don't be confused by low end being better. Low end feels good because it feels like powerful, but when you're playing and you're in a band context or you're recording, those low end frequencies, recording engineers will whack frequencies from 150 hertz and below on a guitar because it's mud. It's competing with the bass drum and the bass and the keys. So this is an important feature. So again, the original. So if the bass goes away, it might sound like it got quieter. So we could turn the level up. So you can hear there's definitely a difference in bass there. Now, with a pedal like this, if we turn the gain up and we start having some fun with that, we'll kind of play around with the level. Let's go, we're on it there. Sounds good, it sounds chewy, as they say. It really feels like you can really feel the compression. You can hit the button on the side and get even more compression. It's a little tricky to get to here. There it is. So I'll play the same thing. The button is out. When the button goes in, I feel it go woo and kind of get more compressed and bigger sounding. So it's a nice option for sure. That's the button in, so more compressed. And the reason I turn the gain up is you don't really feel that stuff often until the gain's higher up, and then you can definitely hear the mod happening. So, Wampler Belle, we're moving quickly. Like I said, it's been about 30 minutes, so we're about right on the nose. But we have four more pedals to go through. So let's keep moving. You guys are a captive audience. I might as well. We're going to talk now about another cool pedal. I should have pulled another one out also. This is the Karma ODR-10. This is a recreation from a company in California by a gentleman who used to live here in Nashville and worked on many records and has been around a lot of engineers or studio players and engineers, and he himself is an engineer producer. This is, according to them, a direct clone of one of Tim Pierce's beloved Nobles from the 90s. This is a cool pedal, and you'll hear me say in the video that he went with red instead of green. So good on you for breaking the mold, right? So somebody can go, what is that red pedal, right? And then you can talk to him about it. Yeah, that's the whole thing. He also does a wonderful clone of the Ibanez Distortion, which is another favorite here in Nashville. Leroy Parnell had been using that pedal and probably still does for many years. I had a modded one. I have his MT, I think it's called the MT10. That's a really, really good pedal if you like that sort of sound. But no frills, no extra switches or knobs or compression settings or anything. The best clone he could make of Tim Pierce's from the 90s. And we're going to hear that. So I got a video fired up. Let's watch that. I'll keep an eye on the questions. Keep firing them away because we're going to get to them. There's a lot. And we want to do that with everybody in attendance. All right, so here's the Karma video, and we'll get right back to you with this one. All right, let's do the sound test on the Karma ODR-10. I have them pretty darn close, and I think you're going to be interested to see the results of this as well. So here's the original. When I click over to them, I can usually sort of sense that there's something happening. And then in about 1/8 of a millisecond, I'm like, oh, okay, I can play with that. That sounds like what I'm used to. The seamless change, the change was so seamless, it freaks me out. It's almost if they're sustaining into each other because they're that freaking close. Let me play a little cleaner. Here's the Klon. Here's the ODR. Trying to play as consistent as possible. A looper would work, I understand that, but here I am playing it. Wow, pretty remarkable. Maybe a slight difference in that cloudy bass in the original that we've seen throughout the rest of them, but whew, the ODR-10, that's pretty dang close. And man, really solid pedal. And when you put a red pedal like that on your board, nobody's gonna have any idea what it is because it's not green. All right, so that's the Karma ODR-10. We got more, so please stick around. Yeah, I told you were going to be surprised about the Karma ODR-10. If this is your lane, you just want a pedal that is very similar to this with 3 knobs, it's a solid option. I think a lot of us nowadays, sometimes, we're probably split down the middle. People really want to support a small builder with something they did that sounds really good, but other people will say, hey, I want a few more options in my pedal. They're all out there. Let's see. So I know for sure, let's see if I can find the ODR-10 online here. Yep, there we go. With some great demos from obviously Tim, but Nashville legend Rob McNeely as well. And these are $199, so these are a solid deal for sure. Let's hear a little bit. I always talk about things I like or don't like, especially in these non-sponsored videos. Again, love top-mounted jacks. This does not have top-mounted jacks. To me, that would be a better option. And when the AC plug is right by the input jack or the output jack, a couple of these have it, and it does drive me a little crazy. That's just my own little thing. I'm someone who's always trying to squeeze as many pedals onto a board as I can, and sometimes that I realize I could use a right angle, which is fine. I didn't have one here right now. But even still, it kind of gets a little weird with how I manipulate the cables. A small thing, but we want to be honest. That's what we're doing these live streams for. All right, so the original, let's hear that. Again, I'm as shocked live as I am in the video because it's true. I thought with all these other pedals and the other things they do to tailor the sound, I wouldn't like this one as much, but it feels soft, it feels chewy. Yeah, I gotta say, it's right on the money. As close as I've heard, and I've heard all of them. You'll hear even more here in the next few minutes, and that one hangs with every single one. It's fun. It's a whole thing that has come to prominence over the past, I think with the onset of social media, we get to sort of see and hear things that we might not know about if we're in a town where something isn't popularized. I will say that is the coolest thing about Nashville for me. The thing I learned the most, on top of anything, musically, whatever, is generally, it's probably the same in LA too, is generally gear starts to percolate here. Definitely hearing some noise all of a sudden. There we go. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, I don't necessarily think it says that pedal, but it could be. Could be could be a power supply issue. The pedal's been fine, so there you have it. But the thing I learned the most about being here for as many years as I have is gear kind of it finds its beginnings here a lot of times, and then it gets popular out in the world. And that's, I think, a lot has to do with social media. Now it kind of starts anywhere, but the things I learned about how to make an amp open up and how to hit it softly with a pedal and all these other different kinds of things I've learned from great players. My friends at XTS, they've given me a lot of insight too. So stuff just comes from networking and talking to people that have a better sound than you do. So that's the Karma. Sounds really, really good. I just glanced at the chat. I saw that Rhett Shaw has chimed in saying that side power jacks are the worst. Rhett is not one to pull any punches about this kind of thing, so I do appreciate him chiming in. Let's move on, though, and I think he might have some other things to say. Let's talk about, I'm kind of going up also in price. The Karma ODR-10 is $199. I think this was $169. The Belle, actually, I went down in price. That's $149, I believe. We do have some links that will help out the channel if you make a purchase. But let's talk about the Keeley Noble Screamer really quickly. I've done an in-depth video on this, but it is definitely a player to the game, even though it's fairly new. And we want to talk about that. So let's watch the video, and then I'll fire up the Noble Screamer. Here we go. All right, let's hear the Keeley Noble Screamer. I got it dialed up as close to the original as possible, just like we've been doing for all of these Nobels ODR-1 clone style pedals. And we'll talk a lot more, I'm sure, in the live stream about the Keeley Noble Screamer, but I've worked with this pedal a lot, pretty familiar with it, and man, just like the Karma, it is very, very close. So here is the original. Let's switch over to that. And the Keeley. Man, those are also, or that one is also really, really close. And I've demoed that a lot. I've done a whole other video on the channel. But man, lots and lots of fun stuff with the Keeley because you can change some different aspects, which we'll talk about in the live stream. But yeah. I literally forgot which one I was on right there. I thought I was on the Keeley first. Then we went over to the Klon. So that gets me all the time. Yeah, Keeley Noble Screamer, great pedal. Forgot again. I was like, oh, that feels a little more low-endy. Anyway, so Keeley Noble Screamer, easy for me to say, and apparently pretty easy to dial in, similarly to my original Nobles. We'll play it more in the live stream, but there you go, Noble Screamer. There you have it. the Noble Screamer, lots and lots of fun stuff you can do with this pedal, and one of those twists on the circuit, which I thought was really cool. You know, I think probably the folks who originally designed circuits are like, hey, why is there so many people cloning my circuit? But then there's other people that might say, yeah, I'm flattered by it. You know what I mean? And I think if Robert Keeley jumps into that pool, he's going to do it in a way that pays homage, but then takes it to another place as well. He's one of the original, you know, famous pedal modders, so definitely within his wheelhouse. So what's unique about this pedal, if we kind of flip over here, it has the option to have the drive circuit and the tone circuit of the ODR-1. So it would be like, you know, obviously this tone would be like the spectrum control. Now, what you could do is you can change either of those to be the Tube Screamer circuit. So if you wanted more mid-range from the Tube Screamer circuit to, you know, marry with your ODR-1 drive circuit, you just flip that switch down to TS and then back. You can take the drive section of the TS and do the ODR sound to it, which is more of the scooped thing with the bass in the middle coming up as you turn this knob. And then, of course, you can go to a stock Tube Screamer sound too. Robert knows a thing or two about Tube Screamers. But for our purposes, we're going to go with them all up like that. And let's just hear the original. I'll probably have to tweak it a little bit, but you heard it in the video. You know, I said it in the Karma video too, when it feels like nothing's changed when I'm playing, the feel of it, that's remarkable to me, because you have like this residual string ringing thing happening, and that kind of bleeds in, and it's kind of a mind scramble for sure. So I feel that this might still be a little more robust, but not in the best way. This, like many of these pedals we've talked about, kind of is a higher Fi version by a 5% increase maybe. And you notice there's a little more of a sheen to the pedal, a little bit more modern feel. To me, I'm fine with that. I think that's something great. But one of the cool things we want to talk about with the Noble Screamer real quick is if we did take that sound, maybe you want to change the tone circuit to the Tube Screamer. So it dumps the bass more but adds more mids. It sounds good. Sorry, I haven't gotten any complaints yet, but just making sure that I'm not like clipping too much for you guys, because sometimes when you turn the volume up and you have headphones on, you can't really tell. But it does it in all the right ways, and honestly, I like that Tube Screamer circuit more than I remember when I first demoed it. So kind of a cool thing. I mean, you can go to Tube Screamer mode here. There's that mid-rangey. Do that with the OD sound. Definitely got muddier and furrier. Crazy, right? Because you're bringing that low end up, and it might have been a little overwhelming for this particular setup, but that's how you can adjust accordingly. So, Keeley Noble Screamer, definitely a winner. I don't need my keyboard tray out at the moment, but in any case, yeah, we're counting down. We got 2 more left. We've been doing this for almost an hour. Maybe it's time to adjust the chat a little bit, address the chat, but I want to make sure that, you know, everybody that's watching this, later on feels like they're getting their money's worth, right? Because you paid a lot to be here. So I'm going to click back over to this, and I'm going to change some things out. But we're going to talk about a pedal that I've used a lot. This is the Vemuram Shanks ODS-1. This is made in conjunction with a legendary producer, guitarist, touring member of Bon Jovi, John Shanks. And I first heard this pedal at a NAMM show a couple years ago, and I'll tell you a story about that later. But let's listen to the Shanks in this video, and we'll change it up. Here we go. Okay, let's hear the Vemuram Shanks ODS-1 against the original Nobles. We'll start with the original first. And the Shanks. Another one that is dang close. Again, the original has the more cloudy low end, a little less note definition. Still, they both feel really good, and man, solid pedal for sure. Really solid. That Shanks was on my board for a number of years, touring in the rock country circuit, and never let me down. Great pedal, loaned to me by a friend that I still probably should give it back to him by now since I'm not using it as much. Anyway, you know who you are, and thanks for the loaner because it really helped with the video, and I think it sounded pretty freaking good and close to the original. That's the Vemuram Shanks ODS-1. Now, back in 2019, 2020, when I first heard this pedal, I was touring a lot on the rock country circuit, and I had this Nobles and I had a rehoused one. Now, rehousing is something that, has gotten popular with these pedals over the years. Our folks at XTS do a great job of it, where they basically just put all the guts into a box and make it more roadworthy and more road friendly. I had two of these, and I wish I didn't rehouse the one, but you don't know what the market's going to bear, because I sold the rehoused version for $450. And then this one sounded better out of the two, so that's why I was happy with rehousing that one. But I was using it a lot on the road, and when I visited a friend of mine in California, he was like, they sent me this Shanks pedal. You're using an ODR-1. You should try it. And we plugged it in. I was like, oh my God, can I take this? And he was like, yeah. So I had 30 dates left in the summer, and that was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like 5 years ago. Sorry, you'll get this pedal back someday. But the Vemuram Shanks also has two little, if you can see, adjustments there for the bass and the saturation control. So you can adjust those accordingly. I just have it stock, and I thought that would be the kind of best way to demo it. And again, sorry for this mess. I'm like, it kills me that these cables are so unorganized. But everybody has different inputs and outputs, and they have different, side input jacks, top input jacks. This one is, again, it's side input on both. Not my favorite, but it's a dang good sounding version. So let's hear it. Okay, so the original. Let's go ridge pickup. I mean, I don't feel a difference at all. Eyes closed. Pretty great. The thing that was really struck me about this pedal, so back to my story, I didn't want to travel with these because I'd step on it and I'd hear it go, make all these sounds, and I'm like, oh geez, I don't want to have this pedal out on the road and never be able to fix it. And that's when I found this one with my friend had. And then I was hosting a panel for Universal Audio, and John Shanks was one of the guests. He had a little pedal board, and this was on it. And when he stepped on it, I mean, he played something like this. Like all that adult contemporary rock, arena rock, right? This House Is Not for Sale, Bon Jovi. When he did that, I was like, holy cow. He had a 335, and I was like, that's it. So they nailed it. And Vemuram pedals, look, we've heard it in the chat already. They're definitely they're a premium value. No, they're definitely higher priced than the other ones we've talked about. They're an absolute tank of a pedal. They do a great job. I'm sure a lot of money goes into these enclosures being more expensive. I mean, like with amps like 2Rocks and stuff, that's part of the cost. These custom parts that they feel represents their product the best, but is going to push the price up as well. So that is my 2 cents on the Vemuram. Sounds fantastic. Definitely super, super close. Great high gain function too. Yeah, it's a really, really nice sounding pedal. I probably wouldn't use that much gain, but what I have done in the past is to use a lighter gain here, add a light overdrive to it, always married well. All these circuits really work well with other overdrives in my experience too. So we got, oh man, is that it? We got one more. So we got 100 or so of you in the stream right now, and we have 65 likes on the video. If you haven't liked the video, please do so. Please subscribe to the channel if nothing else. There's tons of links in the chat courtesy of our wonderful moderator, BV. Please say hello to BV and click a link. Whether you're interested in a pedal or my courses, there's one on sale in the chat. It is Major Pentatonics Unlocked discount for the stream only 100 copies apply. So to that. So get your version, or 100 coupons apply to that. So get your version of that. We're going to talk about our final pedal of the day. I can't believe it's been almost an hour. Man, but we got one left. We made it. We got another video I'm going to show you as well. But this is the newest pedal to me. This is the Apollo approved Buckartie Boo. I have no idea where any of these names come from, but I'm here for it. Definitely the largest real estate taker-upper of the pedal, of the pedal line that we've done so far. But a really good sounding one, a really good feeling one. It does have a compression style switch here to make it sound more open or more compressed, which is nice. These are becoming, hard to get on their own. I don't really know much about the company because there's really no website. It's just Instagram, and there's ones on Reverb, and you can order directly from them. But I've seen them on Reverb for, oh gosh, I think I have one here. Let's see. Here we go. $485, and the price has already been dropped. So they're at a premium as well. But nice pedal. They're getting popular around the guitar community. So we're gonna listen to this. I'm gonna plug it up, but let's watch the video and we'll wrap it up. Here you go. Okay, so here's the Buckartie Boo from Apollo approved up against the original ODR-1. They both feel very, very similar, and the thing about the Noble circuit everybody talks about is the feel. This feels really good. I was probably the least familiar with this pedal, so I've spent a little bit of time with it, maybe not as much as the others, but I don't notice a whole lot difference. It's really reacting the way I'd want a Nobles too. But like with all of these clones, there's a refinement to it that's a little bit more, just a little bit clearer sounding to me than the original. Maybe a little bit more compressed in the Apollo. It does have that switch to change the compression feel But it's good. It's a really good compression. It feels nice under your fingers when you're digging in. And we'll talk about more of the touch responsiveness of these pedals as we go through the live stream. So there you go. So that's the Buckartie Boo from Apollo Approved. Nice sounding pedal. Things I like about it, I love these knobs. I'm a big fan of these old type of knobs. I can't remember what they're called, but love the fact that they did that. Don't like the side jacks, especially being down that low. That's not my favorite. Feels like there's a lot of room you could have put them as a top mount, and then you'd have more, ability to kind of squeeze pedals together on a board. But the good thing about small builders like this is that's always generally tweaks that they can make going forward. So let's hear in live, the spirit of this video, the original ODR-1. Let's make it a little less gainy here. Let's go back to the original. There we go. Now we got it. And it's fun to do that live just so you can see how fast you really can dial them in when they're that close. That's the trick. As I sustain notes and go and click over, listen to how it's seamless. Really nice sounding pedal. Let's gas it up a little bit and play around with that switch, see what we get. Again, there's that, once you start to bring up gain, your low end will get mushy. One thing I do like about this pedal is this one definitely has a strong, natural feel as well, and how the compression ratio works as you turn the gain up. Feels really good. Yeah, feels really, really nice. Not unlike others. This one just had I think the thing I like about some of these pedals too is they look so different you don't know what to expect. So your brain is like a trick, is getting played tricks on. You don't know that it's this greenish looking type of pedal. So yeah, not going to spend too much time on anyone because we want to talk about what you guys are talking about in the chat. As I recenter myself from hearing Nobels pedals for what seems like a week. Doing those videos was definitely really fun because I could spend time and get them close. But you can see it doesn't take much. So we got about a half an hour probably we can play around with or less. And I think it's very cool of Nobels to have jumped into the chat as well. The Nobels family has been answering your questions. And that's really awesome because this is where it all started. And I have to say for the longest time, I was only a fan of the originals. And then I started kind of playing everything else. And this was one of the last ones I got. However, when I did this video, this was the first one I AB'd against the original, and I was shocked. I was like, again, the thing I said earlier, it feels good. There's also a cool remote switch on here where you could take a switch like that and turn it on. Kind of cool for touring rigs and that sort of stuff, for loopers and whatever. But it's got these cool glow-in-the-dark knobs. It feels really sturdy. It just sounds really good. I was really, really impressed. So great job, Nobels. You're continue to carry the torch. But yeah, everything has been really cool, and it's about you as an individual, picking what suits your fancy. I know my buddy Stosh has been on here. He has a Wampler Belle that he likes. The friend I borrowed it from also enjoyed that pedal. I was skeptical because for me, Wampler pedals I just never got along with. I never had any that really worked for me. I could make that one work. That's really, really good. So I'm going to look at the the chat, if you see my head bopping around, you'll see that's the reason. And we're going to go from the bottom to the top just because, well, let's see if we can go all the way to the top. Let's do that. I have a scroll function. And of course, Nobels jumped in and said they can't wait to see what happens. So that's what's happened. Our friend Kevin Krause has been waiting for this one. Thanks for sticking around. Jamie Brown says the Noble Screamer is on his wish list. $199 at Sweetwater, I believe. Yeah, and we have a link for that in the chat. All right. Nathan Morgan from East Tennessee, thanks for being here. Well, we heard the gold anniversary pedal, and it is awesome. What's up, Weekend Warrior? Glad to see you. Thanks, Marshall Derrick Band. Appreciate being one of your favorites. The best ODR-1 I've tried so far without buying an original is the 30th anniversary edition. We've said that it's pretty darn good. Of course, Desert Fisherman with the comedy. They're all inferior to the Metal Zone. Well, Metal Zones in their own way can be very cool. And of course, Nobels was so kind to offer their services, and that's been great. Jamie Jusso just got this NFV. This is hard to do sometimes live, you know. It's easy when you can edit yourself. NF53 Tobacco McCarty Burst. I played tellies all the time, and then I just stopped because everybody else was playing the telly, and I was like, I want to play something different. So I got into, you know, PRSs, and I got into Gibsons and humbuckers, and I kind of pushed this guitar away, and then Paul's like, you got to try it. And I tried it, I really liked it, and then they sent me one to do this course that I was doing on hybrid picking. It didn't get here in time. So I was like, unfortunately, I got to use my old Junior. That's telly-ish, actually. It's like a beefier telly. But then I got this one, I was like, man, this is a really, really solid instrument. That's our friend Stosh. He has a Belle. Says it's very different. Patrick Kelly remembers when they were 50 quid. Was that right? Did I use that right? So this is great. So Stosh asks, is Brent Mason the player who brought it to prominence in Nashville? And the answer is no. It would be our friend Tom Bukovac, who, oddly enough, sold me this one. Tom had boxes full of them, from what I understand. I don't know for sure. But I bought this one for $250 from him about 8 years ago. I moved to Nashville about 10 years ago, and I've had it almost as long. And Kevin asks, is the gold reissue the same as my green reissue that I bought a couple of years ago, or is there a difference? And Noble says, the circuit has been changed slightly to reproduce an original as closely as possible, and the adjustable bass cut has also been added. Ghanaian Bluesman, who joins us often, do you use boosts with the ODRs? Do you boost into or have boosts after? So what I like to do is have boosts after. Specifically, I'm having a board built right now. This is my little small live board. Having a little bit of a studio board built, and haven't decided. I'm probably going to do the Noble Screamer just because of size. It's a little bit more slender but has the top mounted jacks, and then I can get a tube screamer sound if I want. So it's like a 2-for-1. So I'm probably going to have that on there, and I like to put an EQ or something with a mid boost after in the chain. So I'm gonna have a Boss GE7, and I can adjust, you know, that as my boost pedal. But the Boss GE7 is a great clean boost option as well. Don't forget about it. Jamie asks, in a live recorded band situation, would you really hear the difference? Probably not. But this is why we make videos, for cork sniffer guys like us trying to hear the nuances. But all these things, like I said, pedal board real estate, side mount jacks, top mount jacks, bass cuts, mid boosts, that all makes a difference to a particular player. All right, more chats. Jonathan got the Belle and ODR-1. Couldn't get the bass to do what I wanted, and that's where I like the Belle with that bass knob. Yeah, Belle sounds good. All right, and Trevor just ordered a new pedal, a new Nobels from Sweetwater. Hopefully you use the link, and we'll make half a penny on that. And it helps the channel. Indeed, the Nordland originator, the Nordland owner is Kai Takibana and the originator of that circuit. Thanks, Nobles, for doing that. We were on at the same time as RJ. I did have a feeling that was going to happen, so I don't compete with RJ. Actually, RJ's joining us for a really wonderful show that we're going to do. I should be promoting that. Let's see if I can do this really quickly. Oh, I think I can do it. Check this out. All right. Bear with me, guys. Oh, look at that. Boom. Live at the Underdog, February 16th, 9 p.m. with special guests Zach Broyles of Mythos Pedal, RJ Ronquillo, Jesse Isley, and Tyler Larson, you may know from Music is Win fame. Yeah, we're going to have a great time playing some tunes. I can't believe I know how to use this software sometimes. But guys, there's still 83 of you here in the chat. If you haven't liked the video or subscribed, I encourage you to do so. Thank you so much. Let's take some questions that aren't about Nobles, since you've lasted this long. As a side note, I've heard comments about weak pinky finger and have experienced that it does not work well in a lick with ring finger. And then he says, you seem to have a really good pinky. I've worked hard on making my pinky strong, and I use it sometimes even in 3-fret areas. So I might go. So that's kind of, and I see Robin Ford do that a lot. And in my early days, I probably was copying him a lot and got some of that from him. Let's see here. Klon came out in 94, ODR-1 in 93, as far as they know. That's great. Kevin Kosmani has Kazmai. Cool last name, regardless of how I've screwed up. He has the MTN10 and the ODR-1, so that's the Mostortion from Karma and the ODR-1 style. Yeah, and we did cross platforms today, so sorry, RJ, didn't mean to step on your stream. Let's see here. Max has an original Nobels ODR-S Overdrive Special. That one is the one I believe that has a separate EQ function. So I like that too. I just got an alert for one on eBay that was about $500. No, it was like $700. If it was at 500, I was like, oh, is that an impulse buy? Scott says the title hooked me. ODR-1 is always on his board and a big part of his sound. That's awesome. I'm trying to click it off and it won't click. There we go. Let's see what I want to post this without reading it. I feel like cheap clones drive the real market that much more. I've never bought a cheap Chinese knockoff, so to speak. All right, there it is. I can stop the search. Well, Mac MFer, we were, that's why we do this, because we want opinions from all over the place. And that's a good point. Buy from companies you feel like are doing things, earnestly and not just rolling out a product maybe that they can do a quick cash grab on. The thing I can say about all of these pedals is that they're pretty much all made by, I'm looking at them as I speak here. Now there's companies like Wampler has, a solid distribution and manufacturing, right? They can pump stuff out. I'm sure Nobles has decent manufacturing at a clip too. Decent in the sense of, expedited, right? Keeley, small company in Oklahoma. Apollo approved, one guy. Vemuram, massive quality out of Japan. Really, really great. Nordland, doing it on his own, no doubt. And then, of course, Karma, too, doing it on their own. So we didn't find any, we're not playing any Behringer pedals here. We're not playing, something from Amazon or whatever. That's another thing I'm really proud about, is I can shine a light on all these people who are good people. When you see me post stuff, I've definitely demoed stuff for money a lot. Part of the job, right? Part of being on this channel and doing that. But I never do something. I get emails every day from companies, whether it's wanting me to hawk, something that's not even musical on the channel. But a lot of stuff I just say, hey, I'm not, if I don't feel comfortable about the company, I won't get into a relationship with them. And that's what this YouTube series was really started as, really trying to be honest as much as we can and highlight brands that are also cool and things that I think are cool. Yeah, so let's get back to the chat. Scott Googled the gold anniversary, and he's hooked. Alrighty. Let's see here. Man, you guys have been awesome in the chat. Texas Blues Alley, we got Mr. Anthony Stauffer joining us. RJ just wrapped. Again, sorry, RJ. Didn't mean to step on you. Can't wait for the Underdog show. Yes, thank you. Hope you'll be there. It's going to be nice. Hey, there's my friend Grant from Down Under. He has an XTS Imperial, which is their take on the Nobles. Also a solid pedal. I don't have one of those with me here, but XTS are my buddies. They're good folks. And Grant was the one that had said he was shocked to see a pedal like this in red, not green. And I thought that was cool. Make it red. Why not? The ODR Mini. I did have an ODR Mini. I liked it very much. It was great at 18 volts, and I stopped kind of touring in the rock country thing for a while, so I did not have a need for it at the moment. As a guitar player, cycle through things all the time. I bought a couple things recently, got some loaners, and here we are. And Nobles chimed in and said the ODR-S also has more gain. Okay, good. I wasn't aware of that. But I've also seen John Shanks favor those over the years, too. Oh, and Texas Blues Alley says that was his primary drive. All right. That's awesome. Oh, man. Mac MF, no problem, man. Happy to highlight. Nobles, thank you so much. And this is important to me because I wanted to really showcase this pedal because I felt like, man, this is going to be, I originally called this thumbnail the gold standard, right? The gold standard. And it is. And Nobles made the gold standard. And thanks to, Tom Bukovac and other players for bringing a pedal to prominence. And, they say it's the Nashville sound, and it's not Nashville because of compressors in the 80s with Telecasters and really clean sounds. Like that was a thing, It's more about playing a guitar, a single, maybe a Tele or a 335 through a Fender amp and cranking it up and then wanting it to kind of be big. And that's what the Nobles sound does. And also, I'll say this many times before I die. In a typical Nashville setting, you're going to have drums, bass, keys, acoustic guitar, and oftentimes just one electric because they maybe can't afford to bring another electric player in. So the electric player, through the first pass, you want it to be impressive through the speakers. And that ODR-1 is going to sound big and huge. Then when you put part 2 down on the right side, oh man, it's this wall of massive guitar. And I'm convinced that's why this pedal really helped so many people, particularly Bukovac and the like, create tracks with not a lot of effort because the pedal just fills up the space. It sounds really good. And you can, at low gain settings, make it sound like an amp pushed. The engineer can get in and clean that bass up later. It's a very easy process. If I can do it, any engineer can do it. And I think that's really where it started because it's got to feel good when you're sitting there with headphones. And, a recording studio is like the least organic place to play music, in my opinion. Everybody's separated. Nobody's really getting the vibe. It takes a while to kind of start to feel that in your headphones. And any help you can get from your sound really makes a difference. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to BB. Thanks to Nobles for joining us. And hope to see you guys next time. We'll do another fun demo live and bring your questions. And we'll see you then.